We're live, pal. Retro.
I have a feeling that we are live. Dave, this is all a setup.
This is the Dave's
Dude,
let
as
this
soon
out to dry.
are we still live? Okay. Dude,
Yeah.
that's okay. Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there. It said, well, hey, everybody, welcome into this edition of Game Gone Wrong. Things are going wrong already, and they've been going wrong for quite a while for me, but no one cares about that because DJ is shirtless today, as advertised and promised. He is
I get
shirtless.
like proper one. Oh man, why can't I whistle anymore? There you go, close enough.
Yeah, anyhow, it is this latest edition of Game Gone Wrong, as we are going to be here and we are going to recap for you guys the season finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms here for you. Yeah, off to a little bit of an odd start there, as YouTube or Riverside told me that I can't stream to X, and I'm like, no shit. And we're not going to get into all the reasons why I can't stream to X right now. Well, stay tuned for a separate video explaining why my X account got hacked and why X's customer service absolutely sucks to steal from The Rock. But, we won't get into that because no one wants to hear about that. They want to hear about the season finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. First, let me welcome into the show the one and only, the shirtless one himself, the man who came through on his promise, did some push-ups. Look at that. Look at that ripped. I mean, your problem is your immaculate beard is like, it's almost covering up your pectoral development, Deej. I'm just.
It is the beard is like there's beard development, there's chest development, and you can't see any of it because of the beard development.
I mean, sacrifices have to be made, right? I mean, that's kind of the way I look at this thing. It just, certain things have to be sacrificed as far as.
I don't know, dude. The muscles are only gonna last so long. This beard is gonna be forever. Eventually I'm gonna become an old man and all I'll
That's
have is the
true.
beard.
That's true. That's true. You will have the beard. That'll persist with you. Also welcoming into the show, the man, the myth, the legend, the man of all things chair shot related, the glue that's holding this whole thing together, the one and only PC Tunney, who I need to thank profusely for trying his best to help resolve this stupid X situation. But thanks, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
Outside of the chair shot tiny bubble, I have little power, Dave.
Not much reach. I know. That's what she said. Not much reach, but
But I had a couple 280, 285 carries this afternoon at the simulator, so I was reaching there.
okay. That's good. I thought you said you had a couple tips bowling today, and Patrick would have been upset
No,
about that. He would have been jealous, but
I had 280
all I'm going to say about my situation is I am going to
not
post a
today.
video on the YouTube channel to anybody wondering
Dave's
why they.
Dave's been suspended because he's impersonating cryptocurrency
I
people.
guess
So it's
so,
Dave's
man.
fault. He's
Like,
being a real jerk about it.
dude,
He's taunting his flashy cars.
that was the
He's letting everybody
aspect
know
of
how poor they are.
that was the aspect of the whole thing that I was most depressed about. Is that, God, I wish that part was true. That I actually
I
used
wanted
crypto
to
to buy a Mercedes and a
I
new home. That would have been
I
cool.
wanted to I wanted to text you,
Fuck.
nice new car.
Thanks. Yeah, that part would have been cool if it was remotely true, but it wasn't. And on top of that, I'm fighting. I don't know if it's a cold or allergies or both. Probably both, but no one cares about that. But I am going to do something to explain to the people who want to know what has happened with the X account. It's a clusterfuck. That's all I can say, guys. And Tuddy and DJ know a little bit about it, and it's like it's kind of mind numbing at this point. But we won't get into that. But we are going to talk about, though, is the season finale of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which came out last week, about 6 days ago, right now. And before we get into it, guys, your overall thoughts about the season finale. I'm going to say that, I thought it was a good episode. They kind of jumped the shark a little bit in episode 5. And so, coming back for this episode was to be expected. It wasn't going to be the action packed extravaganza that 5 was, but I thought it was a good way to end the season. Tony, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was a nice wrap up, right? I mean, Game of Thrones throughout their universe, whether it is Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, which we're super excited when that returns in June, but they use that last episode of a season, especially if it's not even sometimes when it is the finale of the entire show, to kind of bring stuff together, set you up for the next season, get you excited for the next season, and I think they did all of that. It was so appropriately named, wasn't it? The Morrow?
The
Wasn't that the
Morrow.
name of the
The Morrow,
Yeah.
I
What a
think.
perfect name for the episode. And a lot of cool things happened. I can't wait to get into all the
Yeah,
stuff, but
The
that's kind of
Morrow.
my overall arcing thoughts on this final episode. And good grief, guys, what a debut season for a total, like, I didn't have a lot of expectations and they just blew me away.
It was an excellent first season. I will say that, as we'll probably summarize it at the end a little bit more. But Deej, what'd you think of the season finale, man?
Thought it was excellent. I don't think jumping the shark was a good reference, because if you think of what jumping the shark means, it means they completely shit the bed on the entire series, and it's going to wrap itself up in next by the end of next. I don't think they did that.
Well, I didn't mean that.
Yeah, no, I know what you meant, but that's either way. When we talked last episode, I think either one of us, it may have been me, I don't remember who, kind of likened the fifth episode 5 to the Long Night from Game of Thrones. And then I think I said that the episode after the Long Night was kind of like a breath after this just intense episode. And I think there were similarities between episode 6, the season finale of Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and that episode after the Long Night. They're tying everything up. There are some storylines that are finally either crossing over or wrapping up, and they're preparing you for what's to come next. In this case, it's season 2, whereas in Game of Thrones, it was for the eventual series finale. And there are a lot of similarities here between the two. And this was, yeah, because my girlfriend came in and she was watching over my shoulder, and there was a lot of juxtaposition, a lot of story, a lot of regret from a lot of people in this episode. I think regret is the overall overarching theme of this episode. And she's watching this like, is this the finale? And her tone was, this is a little slow. And yeah, by comparison to the last 2 episodes, it was very slow, but it was also that kind of God after that. So yeah, I thought it was incredible. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it had to be slow after what we just went through. That was to be
Yes.
expected, and
It was
we
an
weren't gonna.
emotional high, and we came down off the high, and now we're finishing the ride. This is like the last, 10 seconds of the roller coaster ride.
Right, right. I mean, it's to be expected. You weren't going to get the same sort of, with one episode left and most of the questions answered in the last episode, you weren't going to get that sort of hair on fire sort of episode, and that's fine. I didn't have an issue with that at all. So the episode kind of picks up after we had this brutal trial of 7. Dunk's really badly wounded, and he's really struggling with the fallout from Baelor's death and that sort of thing. And a lot of the episode is really Dunk dealing with that, and feeling all that guilt about Baelor getting killed, and everybody else around him reminding him, hey, we put our ass on the line too, pal. What about us? And, don't forget who we did, especially Lionel Baratheon, who is like, and I love like the maester's trying to like help Dunk out, and he's kind of like giving him a death sentence and that sort of thing. And he's like, oh, this is beyond my abilities. And Lionel's like, an itchy arsehole is beyond your abilities. So, I thought that was a great line that he said there. But, in the early part of this episode, it is Dunk really wrestling with the guilt that he feels over what happened to Baelor. And everybody else kind of trying to remind him that, hey, we were there too. People died. Dunk finds out that some people died for him that he didn't really know about ahead of time. And, you get that revelation as well. So there's a lot of that going on. So Deej, what do you think about the opening parts of the episode with Dunk kind of going through this whole, he's very, very badly hurt, obviously. He gets on the mend a little bit more as the episode moves along, showing a lot of recuperative abilities. But, he's really dealing with his own sense of guilt and remorse and regret. As you mentioned, this episode has a lot of regret, and he's dealing with all that and trying and kind of like, I don't say he's ignoring other people, but maybe just not really zeroing in on the fact that, hey, other people sacrificed a lot for you too, pal.
Yeah, he's not looking at the bigger picture. Like, he's holding so much guilt because, again, remember, he was going to be part of whatever was a bigger picture. And, Lionel reminds him, hey, pal, there were other people there too. And I read something on the account Dave's locked out of. The actor that portrays Lionel did say that he does not anticipate being in season 2 because he's not really in the books for the foreseeable future, which is depressing because I really like that character. I think he's such a great addition to the show. And like I said, Dave, you've read the graphic novel, so you probably know a little bit.
And not to cut you off, Teach, but he asked Dunk to join him in this coming war.
Yes,
and
he
Dunk
does.
says no, because
Right.
he's dealing with all of this guilt and remorse and regret, like you're saying, not regrets like the commercial, but regret. And that's overpowering the fact that he probably should jump in there with Lionel, who has jumped in for him. And
But it
What
leaves it
about the
open
Jason
for
Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston movie where the boyfriend has regrets on his neck
yeah.
Mhm.
tattoo, and he asks him, "Do you have any regrets? Any at all? Not
That-
even a letter?"
It's
Anyway,
funny.
sorry.
Now, but it leaves it open for him to come back because you hope eventually him and Dunk are going to reconnect and maybe this goes somewhere. So it's neat that they were able, if he's not necessary in season 2, they can write him off for the time being, but leaving that door open for him to come back because between the actor and the character, incredible.
Tony, what do you think of the beginning of the episode with Dunk going through all of the emotional machinations of what has transpired, the guilt, the regret, and all that sort of stuff that he's dealing with, and kind of telling Lionel thanks but no thanks.
It's not like this isn't as like bad as you think it is. We're like, what is this the next day? I mean,
It's a day or two, I don't know.
it would take some time to get over something like this, and obviously the biggest loss of the entire thing was the person that was going to be the ruler of the seven kingdoms, or the nine, as we're about to find out, which really blew some people away.
Well, that's why
But
the
yeah,
title of this live stream is A Knight of the Nine Kingdoms. So
right. And the show may very well be that might be the name moving forward.
that
But
yeah, really, it's like the big four going to big five, right?
I mean, life imitating art. What can you
Everything
say?
is wrestling.
That's true.
Everything's stolen from
That's
Steve
true.
Allen. I love the part with the Maester in the beginning with Lionel Baratheon. Even like, as he's walking away, he's like, don't worry about him. He's a shitty Maester. He sucks. Like he just
Right.
like, he's the best. Give me the best you can. He couldn't help. Oh, he's shitty. Don't worry about that. But it's nice to see that he was wrong. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But yeah, an interesting open.
It really was. And I think, when you're looking at this season finale, and like DJ says, regret is a big under or overarching thread going through here, but it's also Dunk's, and it's what's been going on the whole season, that sense of self-doubt that Dunk has had for the entire season, right? And he really doesn't get to the point where yes, there you go. Ray's on here. Love me a shirtless, oh yes, there you go. Ray, show me the cannelloni. Cannoli. Okay. Yeah.
Cannoli.
Leave
Or
the
if you're
gun,
watching the
leave the
Liberty
gun, take the
you're watching the
cannoli.
if you're watching the Liberty Bibberty commercials, it's cannolis.
But like you're saying, it's Dunk. The whole season was about his self-doubt and his sense, do I belong? Do I belong in this world? Do I belong in this sort of environment? And the finale really kind of comes full circle because he wrestles with that not the entire time, probably what, 3/4 of the episode, he's really wrestling with the self-doubt, and Dunk starts questioning, asking, why didn't you ever knight me? Asking Sir Arlen, why didn't you ever knight me? And that sort of thing. And it's a dream sequence, sort of, but I guess there's more to it. It could be a lucid dream, some sort of afterlife, sort of ghostly, I don't know, interchange, that sort of thing. I think the big thing about the show in this season that I read somewhere was that the show's talking about what it really means to be a knight, right? And what really matters about being a knight, which is your actions and your character and your morals and your ideals as far as like being a knight, and not just the pomp and circumstance in the ceremony of somebody touching a sword to both shoulders, right? So Dunk wrestles with this whole notion of, well, why didn't you ever knight me? And he starts to question, am I really a knight? But at the end of the day, it's like everything that he did shows that he's more worthy of a knight than Arion would ever fucking be, who was knighted by his father and all that sort of stuff. So, Tony, what do you think about that? I mean, is there something to that there's more to being a knight than just this kind of ceremonial passing of the torch that Sir Arlen never really gave Dunk, but he probably really doesn't need to at the end of the day, right?
Well, I mean, Baelor's death, that's why it's so taxing on Duncan, because the only reason he wasn't just completely sentenced to death is because he made seven, because Baelor believed in what he had done was the right thing and believed that was more important than, beating up a prince. It's what she did, right? So that's the interesting part. I mean, it is a story of valor. I'm interested to see how they're going to tell it moving forward. I think the next season or seasons, we'll see if how long they're using each book, but the next book they're adapting from is the Sworn Sword. So we'll see what happens there.
Right, the Sworn Sword, which is a mouthful to say. We'll talk about
Ray,
that.
aka Crystal Ball, we're going to need you to settle down over there.
Yeah, I'm just, does Dunk like donuts? The people don't need to know, Ray. The doctor
You
doesn't
want
need
to
to know
hear a
about that.
story? If you want to hear a story about donuts, go back and listen to DWI 510 from this past week on Chairshot Radio Network. There you go. That's a true story.
Deej, your thoughts on this whole notion of knighthood and all that sort of stuff?
I thought it was interesting. As one of the overarching themes of this episode was regret. The other overarching theme, as we find out in the very end of the episode, there's some lying ass motherfuckers on this show. Dunk has been lying about the fact that he was knighted for 5 episodes, an entire season, and come to find out he was never actually knighted. I loved the scene though where the guy's like telling the story and then like Dunk asks him, "Why did you never knight me?" And then the guy just like dies.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where Tina was watching and she's like, "Oh shit, he died." And then he
But he
keeps telling the story. He like wakes
Yeah.
back up and he's like,
He wakes
and the
up and goes,
last
"A good night never finished, never."
he always finishes a story. Again, everything is wrestling, and that clicks in Dunk's mind. Finish the story. You know, suddenly
it's
Dunk
all
turns into Cody
it's
Rhodes.
all wrestling, right, DJ? It
It's all
really is.
wrestling.
It's all wrestling.
It's
Finish
all
the
connected.
story. God damn it!
Finish the
Yeah,
story, Dunk.
it really is. Everything comes back to wrestling. I'm absolutely convinced of that.
And that's when Dunk decides that he's going to go have Egg as his squire.
Right, right, and that's and you. We also have to remember that there's a big, you know, the whole thing with Dunk where Prince Maekar requests Dunk's audience, right? And Dunk goes to meet Prince Maekar and you know, and I thought Dunk would be a little bit more like, you know, reserved with Maekar, maybe even a little, I guess conciliatory might be a good word for it, but he's really not in this scene. He stands up to Maekar and basically calls him out for killing his own brother. It's like, yeah, it was your blow that felled him. Your blow was the one that killed him. Maekar's obviously living with that, living with the guilt about that. He kind of suggests it was an accident or insinuates that, but we know that that's not really what happened because it was a fight to the death. And this is of course, this is a major turning point for the Targaryen family and the realm. And did you guys notice this is the first time forget who Dunk's talking to, but it's the first time that you really get the acknowledgement that there's something in the Targaryen blood that leads to madness. And one of them says that in this episode, don't they?
He's talking to the drunkard at the bar.
Yeah. What's his name? Darian?
I forget his
Daron.
name, but he says,
Daron.
my brother wasn't
Daron.
always
Prince
like
Daron.
this.
Right.
So there was the time when he was of his right mind and he liked to fish.
Yes.
And that's important. That's key. That's a key bit of dialogue that we probably need to, just remember
right.
as
And
we go along.
Duncan initially thinks he's talking about Egg, and Daron is like, "No, I'm not talking about Egg. I'm talking about my other brother.
Aaron.
Yeah, my other brother, my brother from another mother, sort of thing. All that same mother, but
so that's an important piece of dialogue.
It is. And it's during this whole thing where, like you're saying, Deej, Maekar goes to Duncan. He makes him the offer that Egg has taken. Aegon, or Egg, whatever you want to call him, has taken a liking to you. He wants him to be a squire. He wants him to go to, what is it, Somerset? Is that what the name of the castle is?
Wherever it is, it's under Targaryen control.
It
is.
It's kind of like
It's a comfy
military
reform
camp
school for Egg, is
them.
more or less.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's
And
where
he said he was going to send Arian far away.
Yes.
Right, and he says, you go here, you'll train Aegon, you'll finish your own training as a knight. So Maekar's basically saying, I'm going to turn you into a real knight. And Dunk is like, well, that worked out so well for your other son, didn't it? And he's like, no, I can't do that. And he basically says, I'm done with princes. And that's how we leave that scene with Dunk basically declining Maekar's offer, saying, I'm done with princes, and walking away from this whole thing. A lot of important stuff happens in this scene, Deej, because it is Dunk calling Maekar out for being the one who killed his brother, not backing down, not just kissing the ring. Dunk's done kissing the ring. I'm done with princes and kings, basically. And he's like, I'm done kissing the ring. And you did this. And no, I don't want to do anything that's going to turn me into a snot-nosed little shit like your other son. So thanks, but no thanks.
Dunk has nothing left to lose but his life. And at this point, at where he's at emotionally, when you think back to the last episode, the love of his life, his master is gone. The one man that he was going to pledge his allegiance to is like, all these people keep dying in his periphery. And he's like, fuck it. What are you going to do? Kill me? No. Like, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen to me? I'm not going to just kiss the ring. And he goes and he basically lays into him. And Maekar's like, he's like, yeah, but you still accepted the fight. And at the end of the day, he could have declined the fight. And that's what people will remember before they'll remember that Maekar struck the killing blow, is basically what Maekar tells them.
Yeah, exactly. Ray. It's always good when you get Ray in the
Ray's a mess, man. We love that.
Yeah, we love Ray. It's not nosed little shit. That's right. This is top-notch podcasting here, folks. You can ban my account, but you can't stop my great analysis, right, guys?
That's
Buddy,
right.
Buddy, why don't you give me some better analysis than my own shitty takes on this situation and your thoughts about this initial conversation? Because we're going to come back to these two having a much more impactful conversation in just a few minutes.
Well, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here or not.
Jump away.
because I watched this, yeah, like almost a week ago. But anyway, I was going to reference the part of the conversation where they both kind of agreed that they're hearing there for the rest of their lives, they're both going to hear whispers, right? About different things that could have been that's going to haunt them no matter what they do. Sometimes those whispers are going to be seem like someone screaming inside their head, and sometimes they'll be so faint that you'll be able to ignore them for, an hour, a day, or a week or whatever, but they'll always be there. I think it's interesting that, and I'll leave it at here and you can go where you were going to go, Dave, because I'm not quite sure. I don't exactly remember the exact arc of the entire episode.
Yeah,
But
there's like a little thing in between that we'll talk about, but go ahead.
at some point, Egg and Dunk are sitting on a bench right outside after the meeting, and Dunk asks him, "Were you spying?" And Egg says no. And right there, that was big for me to know that in no way, shape, or form at any point will Egg ever be done not trying to pass his own truth over the actual truth.
Liars.
I don't
Didn't he,
know if
didn't he
it's a
say something?
liar, but
Didn't he say
he's royal and he's going to be a king. So at some point, it's not lying. It's making it like the winners write the storybooks. That's the position he's in.
right? Didn't he say he wasn't spying? He was eavesdropping
It
or
is
something
though.
like that.
No, he just said no, and then there was nothing else said, and Dunk was like, okay, and Dunk kind of told him what he said because if he wasn't, he didn't know that he had declined.
Right. In between this stuff happening, though, we get the scene where Raymond has got himself a wife, I guess,
Oh
overnight.
yeah.
You know, he
Wasn't that one of the girls that was rude to Duncan in the earlier episodes,
I
though?
think so.
Yeah, she's one of the prostitutes.
Yeah.
Violence turns me on, apparently, and not
Smart
only
enough to find a meal ticket, though.
yeah, not only do they get married, but she's already pregnant. I'm like, boy, that was fast. They were quick around here, and
Well, you can see Dunk has a look at his face and he immediately just lets it go so that Raymond can be happy.
Yeah,
Right.
It's clearly not his.
you
Right.
alluded with Dunk's quick healing, like Wolverine-esque healing powers. There's points of the story that imply this particular episode takes place over a period of weeks.
It
Like you
probably
look at his
does.
healing and the progression. Like there's a time lapse in this episode.
Yeah, his eye never comes back. It's still, gone.
Well,
Right.
it gets
shut,
to a point
whatever.
where you can see
It's
he still has
slightly
an
open.
eye.
It's like the swelling is going down, and he's
Yeah.
not limping with
He's
a
not gonna-
cane, and
He's not
he's not gonna
Rocky.
be a
He's not
one-eyed-
Rocky Balboa. Let's get that straight, right? Yeah. So
He's not going to be the one-eyed snake of the Nine Kingdoms.
the one-eyed viper. Oh no, that's a different movie. So yeah, but yeah, good for Raymond. Get yourself some. You earned it with that great performance on the field of battle and that sort of thing. But as this is going, and correct me, where does somehow along the way, Dunk comes up with this idea, and he goes back to Makart. He says, "I'll take Egg on as my squire, but we're going to do it my way, which is to go on the road. We're gonna travel from town to town. I'll train him my own way. We'll live off the land. We'll figure things out on our own. None of this pampered bullshit. I'll turn him into a real man, that sort of thing." And Makar's like, he's the only son I have left, which is interesting because Arion is still alive. Now I got to ask you guys, was Egg going to kill his brother when he went in there with that dagger near the
Or
end
was
of
he
the
going to cut
episode?
his hair off?
I don't know. Because he at some point he's looking at himself in the mirror and his hair's starting to grow back a little bit. But then he grabs that dagger and he goes in to where Arion is recuperating. And it's Makar who comes up behind him and kind of and not Dunk, Egg is conflicted by this because there's tears in his eyes and all this other stuff. So he really doesn't. So it's kind of confusing as to, okay, what was he really going to do there? Was he going to kill his brother? I don't know. But it's another side quest in this episode where he's struggling with his own feelings of self-doubt as well. And maybe he's at that point thinking, I don't want to turn out like this. Somewhere along the way, he learns, like you're saying, he heard the conversation between Dunk and Makar about the conditions that Makar wanted to have for Egg to be trained by Dunk. So obviously he had heard that, and he knows what the status of that is. So Tony, let me go to you. Do you think that him hearing that conversation is kind of what, motivated Egg to kind of at least contemplate this notion of killing his brother? I'm not sure that's what happened, but it seems
That's
like
what Grok thinks.
That's what Grok thinks.
Grok thinks the reemergence of the silver hair beginning was enough to spur him so much so to want to murder his brother. Yeah, I think so,
That's
actually,
interesting.
because the funny thing is like his father comes over and his father actually gives him a chance to basically, hey, if you're fast enough to get to him before I can get to you, you can kill him. Like, he didn't immediately just say anything or do anything, and then he came over and put his hand on his shoulders, and Egg, draws a tear and drops the blade, and
Yeah.
I just think it goes to show the balls that Egg has on him. Honestly, like we know Egg is meant for, we kind of, I don't know if we spoiled it or gave you a better appreciation of how to watch what you're watching if you watch the first episode of our series here, but Egg's meant for really big things.
He really is. Deej, what do you think about that? Was that what was going on? Was Egg going to kill his brother there? It sure kind of seems that way.
No, it was intentionally ambiguous. And I like that because again, they have the hair. He hates his family. And one of the things that he did when he talked about shaving his head in one of the earlier episodes, he told his brother, he's like, I don't want to be like you. And he doesn't just mean I don't want to be like you. I don't want to look like you either. He doesn't want any connection to that lineage, that family. And that's why he ran away in the first place. And so probably, yeah, he probably wanted to kill him, but I love that it was ambiguous because they had him touching the stubble of his hair, and that's the connection. Like, that was the first thing that Egg shed was his hair in an attempt to try and shed the Targaryen legacy, whatever that means to him. So very well done, and I like how they softened Maekor just a little bit, because the first couple episodes you see him, he's an asshole. Like, and I think I said that earlier on in one of our earlier episodes that the guy's an asshole, but he's softening a bit. He's, his brother is dead at his hands. One of his sons is being sent away. The other one's a drunk, and one of them keeps running away from home, So
Well,
as a father,
yeah,
he's broken.
there's been a lot of trauma in these 6 episodes that has been inflicted directly on him. Like you're saying, he killed his brother. One of his sons is a drunk. The other one, like you're saying, he's not only sent away, but he may not survive. That's still up in the air at this point. So there's a lot of that going on. I was wondering, do you guys think like Egg had some resentment, even more resentment toward Aerion because he knows that's why Dunk's not agreeing to this because Dunk doesn't want to turn out like Aerion or doesn't want Egg to turn out like Aerion?
That's maybe just seeing his hair come back is like, man, I hate him so much even more now because Dunk doesn't want to be with me because of him.
Yeah. That's reasonable. That's a reasonable thought.
Yeah. And
It's
obviously,
just a little side thing. Like, let's be completely honest. Like, for almost no reason at all, because think back, their first interaction is in the stable. Egg is completely infatuated with Dunk, and maybe it's because of his size, and you can just feel his gentle soul. He knew he wasn't dealing with someone that was going to treat him poorly, even though their first encounter was brief. So he is completely infatuated with Dunk, like huge man crush, right?
Mm-hmm.
like my man crush for DJ, not wearing a shirt right now.
Well, how can you not? I mean, look at this guy. Oh my God.
Sorry, Henry, you've been replaced, baby.
Good thing this broadcast is from the waist up, let me tell you.
I am not Winnie the Poohing it, trust me.
Now I'm disappointed. I was fading it earlier. Now I seriously am disappointed.
But the ladies would love to see your Eeyore.
I've got a cat that wanders in and out of the room. I don't need him playing with.
Yeah.
You don't need no cat scratch fever.
That's not a scratching post.
So at the end of this episode, as Dunk is leaving, basically jumps over the fence, says, "Hey, I'm here." My father basically said, I don't even know if he says.
He does. He says, "My father said I'm to squire for you."
Yes.
Which is like, okay. And Dunk could lead to see that he had changed his mind and that his words had resonated with Maekar, right? Like, hey, maybe this is okay.
Yes.
He'll find his way back. So Dunk doesn't really hesitate with it. But my whole thing is, let's go back to what I said before. Egg couldn't even tell the truth on the bench when there were zero consequences whether he was spying or not. They were sitting in his chambers of his family. Dunk wasn't going to do anything to him. He was scared to disappoint Dunk, and that's part of what he sees there.
And I'm not necessarily saying I disagree with you, but do you think Dunk knew that he was full of shit and he just didn't care at that point?
No, I think Dunk believed him. I think Dunk thought that his words had resonated with Maekar because of the way that his words had already resonated with Baelor. And the encounters he had with Maekar is probably one of the smartest Targaryens ever. The guy has just been in the positions he's been in and had to do the things he's had to do, right? I'm sure he doesn't love the fact who his son was. I'm sure he obviously said he doesn't love the fact that he killed his brother, right? Maekar seems like a genuinely good person that's just a Targaryen having to do what he has to do.
Right. And we quickly find out at the end of the episode that Maekar did not have a change of heart, that Egg has done what he has honestly done, what he's done the whole series, which is lie. You know? I mean, and it's funny because it's like he's a good soul. He's a good person. You can't take that away from him, but he is a liar. And that has been established now for 6 episodes that he will lie his ass off to get what he wants, which while we want to say, oh, he's above all this Targaryen bullshit, isn't that kind of Targaryen bullshit right there?
He's a Targaryen.
Yeah.
Well, he's prone to lying and bloodlust. Those are his two things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he does. I mean, it's not embedded in the veins like some of the Targaryens that we've seen in House of the Dragon or stuff that we'll see later on down the line.
He's not Daemon.
No, he's not Daemon, not yet. You know, that sort of thing. But, you know, so the episode ends with them going down the path, and I guess it's the ghost of Arlen is riding along with them, and then deviates, goes left as Dunk and Egg go down the path, and that's where the season, excuse me, that's where the season comes to an end. Before we get into speculation for season 2, Honey, let me go to you first. Your thoughts on how this episode ended up with Dunk and Egg on the road, Akar realizing that his son has bailed on him yet again, and you know these two, Batman and Robin, going off down the path of who knows where into next season.
You can't tell the story you told for 6 episodes and not have Dunk and Egg be together. It's basically
Absolutely.
what you're doing here is you're telling their story together, and through a series of novels, they're going to adapt this story, and whatever they're doing, keep doing it. Whether you're going to change the pacing and have longer episodes because you want to just start with this shorter story, I don't know. But whatever they decide to do, I trust them in that fashion. I think Arlen taking a 90-degree turn and separating himself from the way that a Dunk and Egg going is telling you that Dunk now considers himself a knight. He has a squire. He's no longer in Arlen's shadow. Arlen's voice is no longer in the back of his head all the time, but he was trained by him, so he'll always have those instincts, right? So I think that part of his life is over with. He's fully forward now as believing in himself as a knight. I love what we're seeing for next year. There's this impending threat, and then there's also this friction we're going to have between, Makar trying to find Egg, or whenever they come around them, they're not knowing. Like, Duncan doesn't know, right? Maybe that's why Egg wanted to go somewhere they've never been. He wanted to get far away in the other direction, right? Because that's what happens there. And then after, when you're ready to move on, or when we're done or whatever, I have a cool little thing on how to explain the difference between why the 7 kingdoms are the 7 and what the 9 kingdoms are. When we get to that point, I got it ready.
Well, like at the end of the episode, right? Dunk questions. Everybody knows there's only 7 kingdoms, and then Egg Egg rips off all 9 of them, and Dunk's like, "What the fuck?"
The best scene of acting is Duncan's literal amazement and befuddlement on his face being portrayed as he's realizing he's been lied to his whole life. Do you want me to give you the list real quick, the whole thing?
Sure.
So before Aegon Targaryen conquered it and united everything, there was the Kingdom of the North, the Kingdom of the Mountain and Vale, the Kingdom of the Rock, the Kingdom of the Reach, the Kingdom of the Storm, which is the Stormlands, the Kingdom of the Isles and the Rivers, and the Principality of Dorne. So those are the 7 kingdoms. But now, after a few things were split, you have the Crownlands, the Westerlands, the Stormlands, that's 3, the Riverlands, the Iron Islands in the north, that's 6, the Reach, the Vale, and Dorne. That's 9.
9.
So technically, Egg is correct.
Huh. You learn something new every day, as Dunk did. So, Deej, your thoughts is on the end of the episode and the season finale here.
I thought it was great. I thought the episode tied a whole bunch of things together. I really think it cinched everything up in a nice, neat little bow, while also leaving things open for the future. Dunk is wanting to go to a place that we don't know a whole lot about, being not only, or not Dunk, Egg wants to go to a place that they don't know a whole lot about. And it's a place that Duncan knew nothing about prior to Egg saying something. And we, the viewer, have not visited these places. So we don't have to worry about the familiarity of anything. We can go to a whole new place in Westeros. And, it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing more, of this.
DJ, I'm going to go right back to you to get your overall thoughts on the first season of A Knight of the 7 Kingdoms.
Incredible. I thought each episode, as we have followed this on our show, first episode was like, what are we doing? Second episode was like, okay, let me ride this out. Third episode, I'm hooked. By the 4th and 5th episodes, I'm blown away. And by the 6th episode, yeah, I'm all in on this. Incredible writing, incredible pacing. I love how much they've been able to fit into these 30-minute episodes. And I kind of hope they stick to that format, because there's times where I watch it and it's over and it felt like I watched an hour-long show. because of how much they were able to pack into an episode while simultaneously pacing it.
Yep, I gotta agree with that. Tony, what are your thoughts on this first season of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms?
I guess showrunners have confirmed addressing season 2 plans for the Runaway ending and moving into Dorne. So we'll see what happens there. Like I said, this was awesome. You know, the way that they flipped the switch when they revealed, we kind of did some hashtag journalism and address the novels, and you can do that if you'd like to. I thought it was a fun way to and kind of figure it out anyway. Man, they flipped the switch back into like a real Game of Thrones kind of series for 2 episodes, and then we had The Morrow, which is setting up what's going on, and it's a really cool Game of Thrones buddy series. And whether the pacing stays the same and they give us another 6-episode season with 35-minute episodes, or they go full out Game of Thrones, which the majority of from House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones is 8 to 10 episodes,
an hour long,
45 to 53-minute episodes, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with either one. I trust the people that did this. The people that green-lighted the first season, greenlit a second season before the first season even premiered. Filming has already began this week on season 2, and House of the Dragon is going to be in June. Like, the Game of Thrones world franchise is just on fire right now, and that's appropriate for them. And hopefully we get what's west of Westeros before 2030.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't count out what's west of Westeros. That's for sure.
They're talking about it, at
yeah.
least. That's a good thing.
Before we cut out of here, let's speculate a little bit about season 2, because as you've mentioned, Tony, a few times, most indications are they're going to adapt the Sworn Sword. And I got to apologize to anybody listening. I'm sorry, I'm sniffling. It's allergies. It's something, I don't know what it is. But they're going to adapt the Sworn Sword as the main driving force for season 2. We know that season 2 is official. I think one thing for sure about season 2 is we're leaving Ashford. We're not going to be in Ashford anymore, which means that we're going to get a new supporting cast. And I'm okay with that, because we got to meet all these cool people in season 1. Some of them survived, some of them didn't. Lionel will be back somewhere. I think you're right, DJ, probably not for season 2, and that's okay. But we're going to get a new cast of characters. It's going to be, if they're going to adapt the Sworn Sword, and I don't want to do too many spoilery sort of things here, because people have watched this show and watched our podcast talking about it. They may want to go and read A Sworn Sword for themselves. If they go in that direction, it's not going to be, like I said, it won't be an Ashford. It probably won't even be Targaryen-centric. Although, obviously, Maekar's going to be looking for his son, so you're going to have to deal with that. The characters who come to prominence in the Sworn Sword are Sir Eustace Osgrey. He's one of the main ones. There's a dispute involving Lady Rohan Weber. And this is involving land and water rights and loyalty oaths and stuff from the Blackfire era.
Doesn't this feel like it's going to have the same pacing, though? Doesn't it feel like they're going to tell you another short story about these guys?
I think if they're going to go in the Sworn Sword direction, you may see a little bit of a shift towards more like Game of Thrones-y sort of stuff, what I mean by that is more the political aspect, because Game of Thrones was very politicized, and you had all the allegiances and all the politics and the backroom dealing and Littlefinger betraying everybody and their mother and the Red Wedding and all that sort of stuff. So I think if you're going to get into this Sworn Sword sort of story, and you're talking about a more local dispute between two very prominent personalities, I think it'll have more of that. I do agree with you, Tony. I think it's going to have the same sort of pacing. I don't know if we'll have that climactic trial of 7 sort of battle. Obviously, they're going to have to do something, because you can't just have you can't have 6 episodes of politics, because we already have that in Washington, D.C. every week. Who needs that? So go ahead, Tony.
So, like, the culmination of this story is the Red Widow and Duncan squaring off. So, like, I see almost the same exact type of arc, right?
Could be.
Yeah, like a new, here's a new chapter in the life of Duncan, which we just did, right? And Egg. Right, a new chapter for them. They're in a place they don't know, same kind of thing. They end up befriending people they didn't know. They end up in a battle they didn't want, and there's a culmination of a huge end of the thing battle between Duncan and another person. This seems like the same exact formula. Everything's wrestling.
Yeah,
let's find a new bad guy for Duncan to go over on, and
the main thing is.
Cute manager Egg, who's actually kind of dishonest, but we all love him anyway. Like, hey, this is fucking wrestling, guys.
Right. This isn't going to be about who gets the Iron Throne, like Game of Thrones. This is going to be more about lines in the sand and loyalty, and who's going to be on whose side, and who is Was Dunk going to go? And we know, obviously, you kind of just gave it away. Thanks, Tony. That he's going to go against the Red Lady and that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, just Google. Is it
You gave
Google?
you gave away who Egg was in episode 1 of this,
Well,
so it's all right.
This is about the Game of Thrones. The Egg ends up on the Iron Throne, so this is a story of
That's
the
true.
Iron Throne.
That's true. That is very true. Deej, does all that sound interesting to you?
It sounds very interesting to me, and also, that sounds like a great core story, while the overarching theme of everything is still going to be Dunk in a cat and mouse game with his dad. Trying to avoid his father, trying to avoid being found.
Or you mean Egg?
That is a
That's what
great
I keep
that is a
Duncan
great way of
Duncan Egg.
thinking about it.
Ray Cash is onto something. These names are terrible. But no, Egg trying to play a cat and mouse game with his dad. So yeah, there's going to be several different things going on. A lot of plates spinning in the air on the second season. I haven't watched any of the post episode stuff. So if they've teased anything, I am completely spitballing and speculating here because I haven't
really
read the
didn't.
book.
They couldn't have because filming just
They
started.
haven't filmed
this
it
week.
yet.
Yeah,
but
they really didn't tease too much on like during the season. Tony, I know you watched.
Well,
the
here's
end
what we know.
season stuff.
Here's what we know. The people that Dave mentioned, Sir Eustace, I think, is who Dunk ends up fighting for because he can't because of whatever happened between the dispute. I think Sir Bennis is the hedge knight of Lady Rohan. So these three new characters, they've brought in some excellent actors from what I've heard, that some super heavy hitters to play these roles. So this is supposed to be just another knock it out of the park kind of thing. And I would bet maybe we get like 3 or 4 of these seasons where they're short stories told in 6 episodes, and then we get the 5th season is like a Game of Thrones where
like
all
an
the
epic-
characters everybody comes back that's still alive,
It's
that ever
Endgame.
been against and for. We get to that part of it.
You just
And I
had
can
to
see
encourage
Dave's
him, DJ.
intrigued.
You just had to encourage him, DJ. Way to go, yeah.
Ray, why don't you just be the 4th guy on this show if you're just going to do that? You can just sit there and, good God, just jump in.
I think, there's going to be some carryover from the first season. I think Dunk is still, at least for part of the season, is going to still wrestle with the whole notion of, am I really a knight and does it really matter? That sort of thing. I didn't have the formal knighthood. I didn't have the pomp and circumstance. And who gives a shit? Because I just survived the trial of 7.
I feel like Arlen splitting off was Duncan's consciousness realizing that he's an actual knight now.
Probably.
I don't think he's going to wrestle
I have
with that
all the
anymore.
values. I have the skill. I'm a knight.
I don't think he's going to wrestle with whether or not he's a knight anymore. I really don't.
I don't know. Maybe. We'll see what
Have
happens.
you read The Sworn Sword?
I have read The Sworn Sword. He doesn't really, if I remember correctly, it wasn't really that. I mean, there's a little bit of that maybe at the very beginning, the first couple of episodes. I think things will ramp up pretty quickly in season 2, that if there is any lingering doubt that he has, it's going to be gone by necessity sort of thing pretty quickly. So I think that's kind of what will go on there.
Egg is pretty quick to squash all that as well. His confidence and his extreme belief in Dunk, and he's even before their bond as firm as it is now, he would try to squash any doubts that Dunk had, by quickly dismissing them.
I think the big thing for season 2 will be the evolution of, like, I think DJ is right. You guys are both right. Makar's search for his son will obviously be an aspect of season 2 because we're not going to be able to escape that. But the evolution of the relationship between Dunk and Egg is going to be the important aspect of season 2 and how that evolves. Is this going to be like a true knight squire situation? Or at some point is Egg going to be like, dude, I know better than you because you don't even know there's 9 kingdoms. Do we get any of that sort of conflict at some point?
How old is Egg when he takes the throne?
I don't know. Ask Rock, since you still have access to him. I don't know. What do you think, Deej? While Tony's looking that up, I mean, are we going to get this dynamic? Egg and Dunk's relationship certainly is going to evolve. Do we get any friction between them as we go along here with the squiring versus what Aegon actually knows is the way of the world?
I think you'll have some tension there. I think the real tension is going to come when Dunk realizes Egg lied to him again. And whether or not, and in my head, I'm saying to myself, this is how they close out season 2. Makar finally catches up with them, and Dunk comes to the realization that Egg lied to him again. And I think in season 3, there may be a temporary splitting of the two. Like they may, go their separate. Early predictions on my part, but that's where I think they leave off season 2, is with the two of them splitting off because Egg lied to him, Dunk realizes it, and
they may have no choice. I mean, it may be a forced separation because Makar say, you are coming with me. And when you've got Dunk facing the whole Kingsguard saying, no, he stays with me, and the whole Kingsguard saying, the whole Kingsguard saying bullshit.
Yeah.
the king is
Here
telling
you
us to
go.
take. Yeah, it'd be like, all right,
I'll
you're
hand
gonna
that bald little son of a bitch over. Here you go.
yeah, shave his head, take him with you, that sort of thing. I wouldn't be mad about that. But knowing the way this season went, they'll do that in episode 5. And then episode 6 will be something like, wait, what are we
They'll
doing
hug
here?
and make up.
Yeah, we'll kiss and make up, that sort of thing. What do you got there, Tunny?
So here's an interesting thing to think about. How much of this story do they tell and how quickly is it told? Because you could get these seasons a lot quicker with the necessity of needing to keep the actor playing Egg this young. Because from what I'm seeing, the novels or the novellas of the Hedge Knight of Duncan Egg happen in about a 3-year span. From when Egg is 9 to 12 years old, he doesn't take the throne until he's 33. I don't know whether
Jesus.
Dunk stays with him all the way to that, right? He doesn't take the throne until 33 after his father passes. Aeron and Arion are already dead, and Aemon refuses. Acer Aemon is his brother.
Yeah.
So that's why he's Egg on the Unlikely. So it's interesting to see the pace at which these seasons will be put out by HBO, considering the age of the actor playing such an important character, right? Like, we can't be still trying to tell the story of 12-year-old Egg when this kid's 16 or 17 years old. It's
Which is
not
why
going
I
to
think
fucking
they're
work.
already filming
But-
season 2. It's not
Right,
even
I mean-
set to air until like 27.
Right. And do you
Right.
think like they just go ahead and film season 3 and 4 or however many seasons they really think about before like the end of this calendar year, maybe, or next
Well,
calendar
Teddy,
year?
if you-
Possibly. They're committed to what, 4 seasons?
No, just
I don't know
just
if they've
2.
committed past 2.
Yeah.
So,
But
okay, so
they've
they're committed
greenlit
to
these
2.
already. I would imagine there's at least a third.
Yeah.
I mean, 5 would be interesting. 4 short stories and that big, kind of
DJ
arc
End
at the
game type
end.
of thing.
DJ Tunny's never watched Stranger Things.
Funny.
Tunny's never watched Stranger Things. So at some point you do get to that break-even point where the
Listen,
kids are aging out of their roles a little
we
bit
don't
too
need a-
quickly.
We don't need a that's not my Becky scenario, okay, here, Dave. We don't need a Liam Hemsworth kind of bullshit. We don't need to bring in another Webster. We don't need any of that crap, okay?
What the hell is
Wow.
he talking about?
I have no idea.
Child actors.
I'm just trying to shame you into watching Stranger Things, maybe Walking Dead one of these days, Maybe Lord of the Rings.
Breaking-
That'd be a good place
Breaking
to start.
Bad.
All
I've
the-
tried watching Lord of the Rings like 5 times. I
and
can't
you
get
always
past
fall
the first
asleep.
half
I
hour.
know. You always fall asleep. But
Shame.
I mean, and you also have to keep in mind that they're going to be interspersing for the next couple years anyway. House of the Dragon, then you got to figure Night of the Seven Kingdoms will come back, then House of the Dragon will come back for what should be the 4th and final season, and then who knows where we end up,
Give
are
us-
we
yeah.
west of Westeros by then?
Please.
That sort of thing. But
Just make it up. Who cares?
come on, George, give us something to go on. Lie to us, George. Lie to us. Give us something. But fellas, that's going to do it for this episode of Game Gone Wrong and this recap that's going to bring us to the end of season 1 of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And it's time for Game Gone Wrong to go back into hibernation. It's semi-annual hibernation, I guess.
This is the end of season 2 of Game Gone Wrong then.
I guess, sort of, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
sort
be
of.
back for
This is our
season. We'll be
season
back
finale.
for
This is great.
Season 3 and season 3.
We'll be back for season 3 of Game Gone Wrong with season 3 of House of the Dragon.
I
Right?
like what you did there, Tony. This is why you
So-
get the big money. This is why your account's not suspended, because you're the smart one of us.
I give
Cuddy's
all
the only one of
money
us that
away.
knows what he's doing.
That's
Yeah. Ugh, God, I just drink a lot.
right.
Then we just gotta, I think we're gonna try and cover every episode. I don't know if we want to do a big recap episode to start in for a couple of seasons or not.
I
but
mean,
we'll see you guys
if you
in
wanted,
June.
if you wanted to come, if we wanted to do like a recap episode of, even if you wanted to do like split it into 2, we can come back, a few weeks out from House of the Dragon and recap season 1 episode and recap season 2 the next one, and then go right into the premiere of that.
We can
Might
do
not
that.
be the
'cause we
worst of
did
ideas.
that with- We did that with the final season of Game of Thrones because we had like our first episode
Well,
of
we did
our
all
season.
7. We did all.
We did all 7 seasons. One episode was like a 3-hour episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
No,
don't
I
think
think
we
it-
need to do that.
I think
but
No,
I think a
but
2-part. I think how many is there? 8 episodes in this next season, so we could have a 10 episode season of
Yeah, we
season
could
3 of
do
Game Gone
season
Wrong.
1 of one episode, season 2, and then
yeah, I think
flow
that
into the season from
that
there.
wouldn't be a
That's
bad
reasonable.
idea to do like, House of the Dragon season 1 recap one week, House of the Dragon season 2 recap the next week, and then go straight into House of the Dragon's debut episode for season 3. I'd kind of like to remember what the hell happened myself. So
Well, I will count down the weekly clock and catch one a week. I'll recatch them all before.
I'll
we
probably
get
rewatch
back
it as
into
well,
that.
just to refresh my memory.
it's like Pokemon, gonna catch them all. All right.
It's so good. It's such a good series, though. I mean,
I was reading something before I got shut down on X, which
Dave, you've seen all of House of the Dragon, right?
yes, I have.
Okay, so
People
now
were
we've
talking.
all seen everything. All right,
People were
got it.
talking about. I was reading some stuff about House of the Dragon and people like being not exactly thrilled with it, which I was like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about, but I think the show's great.
We're here covering this because this is something we love, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
how
we
much
don't
we love
we
it
don't
because
give
it
a
is
shit
amazing.
what you think.
All three have been amazing. All three, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have been. But that's going to do it for, I guess, as Tony says, for season 2 of Game Gone Wrong. Nothing really went wrong this season. Even the last episode is a little bit slow, but it was fine. It was a great way to wrap up.
94% on Rotten Tomatoes this season.
That's very good. That is extremely good. Let's go around the horn here and let people know, DJ, when people want to check you out shirtless or otherwise, where can they follow you on social media?
You can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at The Mindless Pod. You can catch myself, Rob, and Jason, part of the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. We actually have an episode live right now talking Elimination Chamber, most things wrestling. You can check that out on thechairshot.com and all of your favorite podcasting platforms. I also have my own solo project I'm doing right now, part of the Mindless Podcast Productions. It is 30 Mindless Minutes. I've got a new episode of that coming out this week. I talk fitness with a friend of mine.
Thursday.
Drops on Thursday. That will be, again, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms as well as thechairshot.com. Thank you, Tony.
DJ just found that out when that was
Did you boost your stuff on Facebook, DJ? Because I keep getting the ad for 30 Mindless Minutes keeps coming across my feed.
I joined some, and I have no idea whether it boosts the signal or not. And actually, I don't think it does because I'm getting a lot of people scamming me, texting me. I found a bunch of podcast promotion groups on Facebook, and I just like mass spam it when I share it from Spotify.
Yeah, like Tony, that post I put the other day that you shared on X about what went wrong with my account. On Facebook, I got the shit spammed out of me with people saying, I could solve your problem for you. I'm like, I'm sure you fucking can.
Every podcast promoter that can promise me thousands upon thousands of views is now messaging me on Facebook. And I'm like,
yes,
whatever.
Just keep podcasting shirtless, DJ. That'll get you a lot of views, buddy.
I should probably start doing that live.
We're not only wrestling podcasters, we're not only wrestling archivists, we're wrestling historians, and we're having an historic event this evening in which many people believe inside the crate will be who, Dave?
It's not Chris Jericho. That's for damn sure. Don't do that. He's still under contract with AEW. They froze his contract, and it's not Chris Jericho. I don't care who's in there. I don't know.
It's Dave's Twitter account, DJ. Dave's Twitter account is in the box. That's the funniest thing I've said all year, and it's February 28th. Let's see if that holds.
I don't know. Who do you guys think is in the box? What's in the box?
Is it Dan?
It's Brad.
Is it Danhausen?
It's Danhausen.
It could be Danhausen.
He posted on X yesterday that he did the shackles are off thing. He posted.
He posted the red herring of like, hey, I'm
available for bookings.
Book me.
I saw that. It's probably Danhausen.
I'm sure WWE said come with us.
This box thing will only be as important as the plans they have for him then. So we'll see what happens. If it is Jericho, that'd be really cool too. It would have made more sense with. Listen, if Jericho was coming in, it would have been at the Royal Rumble. If Jericho had to wait until after that for some reason it was coming in, look how many people they've already replaced in the Elimination Chamber. They could have done a surprise there. I don't know that somebody speaking out a couple months ago wasn't talking about somebody that we're talking about. Maybe
I'm not even going to dignify Ray's response by posting that on screen. It's not Jericho, Ray. Just stop.
Do either of you guys have Punk losing the belt to Balor tonight? Do either of you guys have AJ Lee beating Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship?
Yes.
So do I. I have the rematch at Mania. Winner of the Women's Elimination Chamber?
Raquel.
Rhea.
Rhea versus
and Jade.
Yeah, Rhea and Jade is the big
match at WrestleMania.
If you really, because you know what you can do? Jade can win. Jade can beat Rhea at WrestleMania, and you really like Rhea's already made. Rhea's their top, like Rhea's Teflon now. You make Jade if she beats Rhea and they have a great match.
Yeah.
I like that. I think Raquel's gotten a lot of momentum behind her. This is why I'm thinking Raquel and
Tiffany,
Jade.
Though. Could be Tiffany. She lost it to
you're not going to do
Jade.
Tiffy.
Bring
Jade.
it back.
I heard somebody say that they wanted Tiffy to invoke her rematch clause. I'm like, there is no rematch clause. What are you talking about? So
wrestling is best. Wrestling is best when it's a kaiju fight and there ain't a bigger kaiju fight amongst the women than Rhea Ripley
Rhea
and Jade Cargill.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
And like you said, with Naomi being pregnant and Bianca still being injured, I think the original plan was probably Bianca and Jade at WrestleMania. You had
absolutely.
to
Ray's got
pivot. The
Tiffy.
next big match is Rhea and Bianca, or Rhea
Ray's
and
got
Jade.
Tiffy.
Yeah,
Ray's got Tiffy, and he's got Danhausen introducing Jericho. That's awesome.
wow,
That's
jeez,
funny.
Fuck. Yeah, I think Rhea Jade is you need, because man, prices keep going down. I'm almost at the point where I got to think about going now. They're so fucking low.
So
So you need a big Rhea Jade is probably the biggest market you're going to get. I mean, I
What
do like
about the-
Raquel because she's been the men. It can't be Cody Raheem Rhodes. I mean, that'd be so disappointing because we've already seen. How do you top 3 stages of hell at WrestleMania? Unless you're going to do, what are you going to do? Put Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania? Even that's not going to work. I would love to see LA Knight pull this thing out and get
he
a shot.
should.
Get a
He
shot
should,
at
call
he
Drew.
should
for
end night one as champ with the belt. He should. That's how you make him
Yeah.
even bigger.
That's how you make
I called
WrestleMania.
for LA Knight on this week's
And it
episode of the
won.
Mindless Wrestling Podcast. I was the only one that went out on a limb and called for LA Knight.
Yeah, we picked LA Knight.
Well-
Actually, you know what? It was Andrew and I. Actually, Dan was at the dentist this week, so shout out to Andrew Belaz for coming on the DWA podcast. But I think we both thought like chalk might happen, but we did the Greg DeMarco thing, what should happen and what will happen. We kind of left ourselves an out there.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see. But
Any chance if it's Rhea and Jade, because it could be Tiffy and Jade easily too, because you could have the big huge women's tag team thing that they've been doing all year and keep Rhea out of it with EO. But anyway, any chance that Rhea and Jade would be the one that would be most likely to do it, they end up main eventing night one? I don't think so. I think Drew gets the main event.
Rhea
He
Jade
wants a
maybe.
six-pack. Rhea wants a six-pack challenge, to which Drew McIntyre was asked about that. What if it ends up being a multi-man match? And Drew McIntyre said, then what's the fucking point of Elimination Chamber?
I saw that, and he's right.
He's right.
He's right.
He's right. I mean, we saw it can be done because you saw it last year with Bianca, Rhea, and Io Sky, but they got lucky that worked out as well as it did, I thought, because Io caught fire at the right time. But,
Well,
good
and
luck.
people have proved through WrestleMania history, you don't have to have the main event to be the best match on the card. Shawn and Undertaker did not have the best, have a main event match.
When we
They were the
say
best
main
match
event
on the
right
card.
now, we're talking about
Who
here.
closes out night 1 or 2. But you can still
Well-
go out there and heck is
I will say this because people are like tuning in for Game of Thrones or House of the Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
that's
Like, what's
all right.
going on?
It's
They
all
don't
good.
care.
we've
We
been
could
talking
always jump
wrestling the
back.
whole
We could
time.
always jump back on here and do a live show, but I know Tony will be drunk by then, so that's not going to
Yeah,
work.
and I
We'll do a
got shit to
preview.
do.
We're doing it right now.
Ahead of time. Yeah, ahead of time to tell Drew to stop
Ray,
attacking.
you know what,
everybody.
Ray? Then tell yourself to come on the show right now and talk to us.
Yeah, Ray.
DJ's got to go.
Yeah. Tony, give people your social media information so that they can chirp at you when all your predictions come true tonight.
Yeah, follow me at It's Ray Cash. That's REY as in Mysterio, CASH as in dollar signs. That's
You
right.
brought that
Follow
on
me
yourself, Ray.
Yeah. At PC Tunney, Chairshot Radio Network, all your favorite streaming platforms, chairshot.com, prowrestlingtees.com/chairshot, attitudeofaggression.com.
Yeah. As for me, you can't follow me anywhere on X anymore, but you could check out the website, attitudeofaggression.com, and the YouTube channel still going. And if I ever get the X account back, I'll let you guys know. But I'm not holding my breath, so thanks, Elon. You guys are great. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Game Gone Wrong. We will be back probably around sometime in May, I'm guessing, based on what we've discussed here, to give a brief recap of seasons 1 and 2 of House of the Dragon, and then we will pick things back up there for our weekly coverage of House of the Dragon in a few months from now. But until then, you've been listening to Game Gone Wrong, and hope you guys have enjoyed season 1, and we will see you guys pretty soon for House of the Dragon and the return of Game Gone Wrong.